Okay. Okay, so we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, March 4th. Joanne?
Commissioner Ernst will be a little late this evening. Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?
Here. Okay, changes to the agenda from anybody? Nope. Approval of minutes of the previous board meeting held on February 20th. Oh,
Commissioner
sorry, yes, skip that one. Do public requests and then do approval of previous board minutes. Sorry, strike that. Open it up to public requests.
Evening. My name is Harold Chaffee, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. After the meeting last 2 weeks ago, and you made the presentation about the pickleball, I think that there's a lot more work needs to be done on the fee schedule. I still think that there should be a field house there. We need one. And I'm glad that somebody brought up the point about the golf course. And the reason why is because it takes so long to do anything. It'll take a year to 2 years before even something's put to paper. So I think we just need to look ahead. Not that we're going to violate anything. It's just that we just have to be prepared and start moving to do something. Stagnated. Well, none of us are going to be here if we keep on waiting. We'll never see. Anyway, all right. Good evening. Thank you.
Hello, for the record, Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest Third Terrace, Boca Raton. I want to, first of all, again, thank you for saving the green space at North Park. But I think that talking about your 50-year anniversary, it's been 50 years without the Beach and Park District having third parties build something on your property. And it seemed like just last meeting, we kind of realized that a large part of the population may not be able to use this facility because of the cost compared to other facilities that we have in the city for pickleball. Obviously, Aaron pointed out that concern during the meeting last time. So again, this is a big endeavor, and spending $10 million on pickleball at Patch Reef on a property that you do not own versus giving the use of the property for the proposed pickleball center for some minimal amount potentially seems to be somewhat inconsistent with the overall objective of the district. But again, I want to thank you for saving the green space. Let's hope that as my predecessor here, Mr. Chaffee said, we can start something with the west side now that the city is supposedly cooperating more with Beach and Park District as far as what you want to do. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Nope. All right, closing public requests. Now moving on to the approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on February 20th.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to regular business. On first one, Patch Reef Park pickleball presentation.
Commissioners, at our last meeting, we talked a little bit about Patch Reef Pickleball. We talked about the operator, but what we have not talked about is really what the facility is going to look like, even though we're now in permitting. And I know you all know it's going to be great, but I don't know that the public has had a chance to really see it. So I just wanted to show some things tonight, talk about where we are with pickleball at Patch Reef and where we're heading with it. So Patch Reef Park, pickleball facilities you can see up on the screen. Unfortunately, our pointer's not working, so I don't get to use the fancy thing. But on the right-hand side, you see the 12 pickleball courts now finished on the far right. So those are the current 12 courts that we have now for pickleball. You see the tennis facility to the left, and then the tennis stadium court there at the center next to the pro shop. So on the lower right-hand side of the frame up there, you'll see the trees and little area that's where the new 18 covered courts are going to go. And then the parking lot will expand beyond that. So our current features, at Patch Reef, we have 12 now lit courts. We have 3 lit practice courts. We have staffing on site during operational hours. We have programming that includes lessons, open play, reservable court times, clinics, ladders, teams, and junior clinics, and then of course, member and non-member rates. In the future, it's in permitting now. We have 18 covered lit courts. We have fans that'll go over all the courts. We have a new water bottle filling stations coming. We're gonna have 2 ADA compliant pickleball courts, additional programming that will include some local tournaments and camps. And then we're gonna have additional parking spaces that will also include some EV charging stations as well. This is an overview of those 18 courts and how it will be laid out. There's going to be a roof. The roof will not be green, but underneath each roof is a set of pickleball courts. So the total, again, is going to be 18 courts that will be underneath a one roof structure. And the additional parking is number 8. Again, I apologize, I can't point to the screen on it, but it's there. The rooftop, we've kind of designed this a little bit after a facility in Bradenton. So our facility is going to look a lot like this. We're actually using the same color scheme with the gray and the blue courts. So it's going to be a very, very nice facility to play pickleball outdoors and be away from the sun. We're going to have more fans over ours. We're going to have lighting underneath, space between seating. We're going to have benches around the courts. We're going to have recycling out there, which we don't currently have. So that'll be a new addition as well. And then I just wanted to open it up if there's any questions about the pickleball facility. Oh, you noticed. I had to, and picture is, you can tell by the masks, this was taken several years ago, but when we first opened up those 6 courts, but I had to include Commissioner Rollins in the presentation. He came to break in the new courts that we opened up. So I basically wanted to show what we have and where we're going with pickleball. We have a really great facility now, but it's going to be even greater when these courts get constructed. Was including in my updates where we got permission to start the root pruning for the trees that are going to get moved. So they'll be out on site shortly once they get scheduled with a subcontractor to get that going. And then the permitting process is going through the city now. So it takes a little bit to get through permitting, and then we'll be able to start construction, but the progress is moving and there's a lot of communication between CGA as well as the contractor CSR and our staff. And I know this by the dozens of emails that I get copied on daily. They're working on this to get it through permitting as fast as possible.
Start on it.
By May? Yeah. Okay.
Nope.
Where did you find that picture?
All my sources.
You know, I'd like to see the sequence because I was expecting that ball to bounce like a tennis ball. So I'm just standing there in the same mode, waiting for the ball to come up.
So you're a pro now, right? Been a couple years.
Yeah, well, yeah, Melissa got me out there. She said, you know, this is the ribbon cutting on that. So I went out there and, I mean, it looked like fun, but obviously I was not anticipating participating.
On to number 2, North Park security update.
I just wanted to update everybody on where we are with the North Park security features because there's been some concerns by the public. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the there we go. Okay. So we're going to talk about what we're doing now, which is ranger patrols. We're going to talk about CPTED. We're going to talk about features of the park. And I want to also mention Lumi has assisted putting this together from Miller Lake. So I want to thank her for her help. And you'll see where she put in some of the features. First, we're going to talk about ranger patrols, which started last March. They do an average of 60 patrols a month. Most of the violations out there that they've caught have just been residents of Boca Chica walking their dogs on the property. So those have been the major violations. There was some juveniles on dirt bikes that were removed, but the rangers are out there patrolling. I know myself because I was asked to leave the property once because I was not dressed like I was at work. So they asked me to leave and I said, wait, I got to be here. So they are out there and they're doing their job, and I want to thank the rangers and the city staff for working on that. I want to mention that these are random times, so it's not scheduled, and they do that intentionally so that nobody gets used to them coming at a certain time. And they go through the tunnels, they check everything out, and they have a vehicle out there that they can drive around off-road, that they do not have to push through the sand. So I want to thank the ranger staff for going out there and keeping us up to date with their reports on the property. Miller Lake is working on the security and they're of the park itself as they go through the design process. They're using something called CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. And that kind of places emphasis on, they look at where places in the park where people could loiter or hang out, places where they may cut through the property, and then areas that could potentially become unkempt because there's not a lot of heavy traffic there. They make sure landscaping doesn't obscure views. Obviously, lighting is important. Knowing where people could possibly hide is something that they look at as well. And then access control, of course, exits and entrances. If there's other places that people can enter the park, those things are all looked at as they design this park. All these principles are being applied. And the importance of CPTED is that it reduces victimization, deters people from committing crimes. It also helps build a sense of community, gives some control of the property, both to the neighborhood and to the owners of the property. And then eventually, the ultimate goal is obviously to reduce the crime out there. So some of the things that are happening at North Park, and I'm going to go into a little bit more of the layout of it. We have obviously lighting. We're working on adding call boxes on the property. There's conduit on all the buildings and structures for cameras. We're going to have perimeter fencing, safety crossings, motion lighting in the restrooms, and that'll make sure that people can't hang out in the dark in the restrooms, and then landscape buffers as well. So first up, we're looking at the northeast side of the property. And you can see this is just the features of the park. So this is basically how the park is laid out. And on this next slide, this is the buffer. It's kind of, everything else is grayed out. And you can see there's a 15 feet of buffered vegetation around the entire park with fencing. You have 8-foot fencing down by the railroad tracks. And then you have your perimeter fencing around between the condos and the park itself. On our next slide, this shows you the lighting and the closed circuit monitoring for security. So on all these yellow highlighted areas, you're going to have lighting along the trails, lighting in all the parking lots, lighting on all the features, and then all the buildings and structures, pavilions, things like that will all have security cameras, restrooms as well outside. And then on this, again, we're still looking at the north side. You'll see where all the blue light call boxes are being designed into the layout. And blue light call boxes are if your cell phone's not working or you lost your phone, this is where you can go and call for help. And then this is the southeast portion of the park. Again, these are all the features of the park kind of laid out. And then, well, let me go to the buffer first and I'll then back up. This is the landscape buffer again. We have 15 feet of landscaping buffer. The fencing, same situation as before. We also have the lighting and the conduit again for the security cameras around the park. So all the trails, all the parking lots, all the features are lit. Of course, you see the white area, that's where the Boca Paddle Club is, and we've already, they're addressing security on their site as well. And then we have call boxes on this side as well. And those are marked there with the red dots. And that is just a little brief update of the security that's going on into the design phase out there. Obviously, as they get into more details, this is still just site plan, so we're not doing construction drawings yet. But the site plan process, we had another update with the city. Not a lot of comments, so they're going to get their response back to them and move it forward. So we'll start getting scheduled for boards probably pretty soon. And then once we get through the site plan, just so everybody understands the process, once you get through site plan process, then they will start doing all the construction drawings. They'll be a lot more detailed than these drawings, and it'll go into specific locations, specific equipment, things like that as we get into that part of the project. And I didn't write questions here, but I'm obviously happy to try to answer any questions. And I do have Lumi on the line as well if we need to get her. Go ahead.
If someone needed assistance from an EMT in the middle of the walking path, is
Mhm.
there
Yep.
some kind of access for them that they could get a truck or a vehicle in there?
Yes, and the city staff, they actually, that's part of the site plan process is that the fire rescue and police services weigh in on it. And some of that is designing in turnarounds and access points for all of them. And then the wayfinding signage will have markers so that people can identify where they are in the park too. Yes. Thank you. I like the no questions.
All set? Okay.
Good.
Thank you for that. And moving on to number 3, the District 50-year celebration update.
There's in your agenda packets on page 7 is a memo I put together listing some of the things that we have planned. And I have to give a thanks to the city special event staff in recreation services. They've been working on all this and obviously are going to help run a lot of these events, which is why we picked the dates that they're available and don't have other events going on. So right now, as far as concrete dates, we have April 11th where we'll open up a display at Sugar Sand Park, kind of showing some of the archives and old things of the district. I wanted to mention that Chuck and I went to the Boca Historical Society, the Schmidt History Museum, which I sent you guys an email about. They have a lot of really, really cool stuff about our parks and the history of our parks. I mentioned to you all in an email, Sugar Sand Park was once a golf course. So we've actually done this whole build a park where an old golf course was before. We just didn't know about it. So it was the Ritz-Carlton golf course back in the 1920s. There's a lot of really cool history in all of our parks, and we're going to show that. I say we, but Chuck's doing all the work on that. He's going to show that in our social media and in our newsletters over the coming months. The Historical Society has been a big help in getting a lot of that information to us. So we're going to do an opening of that exhibit at Sugar Sand Park on April 11th. And then that exhibit will move to the Boca History Society on May 29th. They'll do an opening there. On April 21st, we're going to do a barbecue at Sugar Sand Park, offer free carousel rides. We'll start that at 11:30. We were talking about a cleanup, but it coincides with the All-American cleanup. So we're working on some of those details, but we'll definitely have food out there and carousel rides for everybody to come and join. And July is Parks and Rec month. So we're going to do a tree giveaway that month. We're going to have events happening at different parks. September, we're going to do cupcakes at Sugar Sand Park again. Patch Reef Park is a little bit difficult because we're going to probably have 2 major construction things happening out there over this next year, which is the pickleball and then hopefully the playground as well. So we're playing that one by ear to see how those things align and what kind of impact it has to parking lots and things like that as we go through it. And so we put together some things, and this is where we're at. And you will see this 50th celebration logo on some of our marketing materials as well, the one pictured up there. And I'm happy to take any input or questions or yes. Me.
You did?
Very
Yeah.
good.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Phew. I was like, that was Melissa if you didn't like it. Just kidding. Kidding.
Along the same lines, first of all, I agree with Susie. Nice job. Can we get signage for the year? And Chuck, to our social media, it should be on whatever we do. Excuse me. I think as much as we can promote it, the more we can promote it, better things will be.
Nope. Okay. All right. Approval of payroll and invoices, Craig.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $560,123.60.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Reports and discussion items. Dr. Harms.
Commissioners, we talked to city staff. They're working on their presentation for the pickleball operations at Patch Reef, so they will be at our next meeting. We're going to kind of mirror this meeting because we also are going to do another update on North Park and talk about the site certification at North Park. And we'll need to have a discussion about whether or not we want to move forward getting the actual certification or just keeping the points. And we'll present that at the next meeting as well. I mentioned the permitting process has started for the pickleball facility at Patch Reef. And the root printing got the go ahead to start that. The sugar sand roof is planning to be substantially completed by the end of this month, punch list next month. So we're getting that wrapped up. And then all the projects at Gumball Limbo are underway. The tower, they're working on installing the decking and handrails. The restroom work is continuing site work on that project as well. And then they put out the decking bid, which is due back mid-March. And that's an update on those projects. That's all I have.
Full council?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, good afternoon. Couple of quick observations and notes for you all. The bill that we've been tracking for you and watching is still alive, by the way. Just looked at it again this morning. CS, which is the committee substitute for House Bill 7013, is still pending. It has been watered down to some degree that we discussed at the last regular meeting of the district board. There's still a 12-year limitation of time. A member of an elected governing body of an independent special district may not serve for more than 12 consecutive years unless the district's charter provides for a more restrictive terms of office. In service of a term of office that commenced before November 5, 2024 does not count toward the limitation imposed by the subsection. So it's 12 years. However, that overlays within this organization, it's 12 years. The provision that was, we call the nuclear into the last couple of weeks of the session, so it's winding down. We're well past the middle section.
Okay, so this is, the bill is still in committee,
Yes,
and that's committee in the House, correct?
correct. And there's a companion bill in the Senate,
In the Senate.
correct.
So the two have to be reconciled before they can be passed and
100%
then
correct.
be put on the
Yes.
governor's desk. Am I
Yes,
correct?
and what's important to note, and your point's well taken, is that sometimes you can have a House bill that passes the House, a Senate bill that passes the Senate that don't harmonize. So the good news is that you've got two passed bills. The bad news, if you're looking to get legislation, it doesn't count. It's like a wash because passed bills in the House and Senate that are not reconciled into a combined bill are legally meaningless. They don't get to the governor.
And if this bill is not passed before the end of this session,
It's DOA. It's legally, not legally applicable. That's correct.
okay,
So the strength of that bill from 6 months ago is not the same bill that you see before you now. And it may not have the same allure that it did 6 months ago either.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that.
And one more thing. The lawyer that met with us some months ago on the permanent easement at Ocean Strand has been winging his way through the administration of the city of Boca Raton. Brianne and I have been kept up reasonably close to the information. We have not yet seen where it rests right now, but he's been negotiating with and been coordinating with the city professional staff and legal counsel. That's all well and good for what he's trying to do, but he can't get through the box until he comes through this organization, which, as we know, we provided them with a draft permanent easement, which may or may not be changed by those that have looked at it so far. Brianne and I hope to get something from Ryan Abrams sometime in the next number of days. But at this point, apparently they're making progress with the city, but it's kind of like the good news and bad news where the pilot radios the tower says I have some good news and bad news. The good news, I'm making great time. The bad news is I'm lost. So right now, we don't know where the answer is. We only know that he's making good progress. We haven't seen what that progress looks like. Because at the end of the day, you get to decide what the easement looks like legally, and that hasn't happened yet. We have a pro forma easement, which you have looked at and have tentatively considered, but have not approved it either. So that's making its way through the city. Other than that, I have nothing else to report, but to say thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions and welcome the opportunity to do so. Thank you for listening. Very much. Thank you.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Steve, you want to go first?
A couple of things. First, I've received an astonishing amount of blowback on the Boca Paddles presentation. So I can't say that any of it was in favor of what we heard when they made the presentation in terms of fees and whatnot. So I'm hoping that they can understand that this is a public facility. It's not meant to be a country club with 2,000 members. It's meant to be open to the residents of the greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District and the city of Boca in general, and their guests. So I just want to go on the record as giving you what I've heard. And some of it hasn't been pretty. Also, in the same vein, this is a P3, and what we have to keep in mind going forward, if, for example, we do the golf course as a P3, unless we're dealing with a nonprofit, there's going to be a profit. So whatever somebody tells us, we have to understand that there's a necessity for a profit being built in, and that may not fit with what we would like to do going forward. So I'm in favor of golf at North Park. I believe there's room for a practice range, a driving range, a practice course, maybe a pitch and putt. But I want to make sure that we do everything with our eyes open and that there are no surprises. And that we do what's in the best interest of the residents and the taxpayers in the Beach and Park District.
Go ahead, Craig.
If Brianne can give us an update on Gumbo Limbo, just kind of the status as well as I know the tower is being built, the time
Just
frame.
did.
No?
I mean, the tower is being built. They have still, we don't have an exact date that they plan on having it done.
Yep.
I don't think anybody would say that out loud, but April or May, I mean, it's by spring, they're supposed to have the tower completed. I know it's on track and there's been no hiccups or no issues with it. The restroom renovations are happening. They're doing site work outside for the parking lot stuff. The decking bid I mentioned was out, and I think I said middle of March, that decking bid is due back. So those projects are all going. They have another resident sea turtle out there. I don't know if anybody saw that. That came from Miami Seaquarium that was at SeaWorld and now it's at Gumbo Limbo. So there's a couple of sea turtles out there now too. So they're working on all the project. All the projects are in progress, I guess, right now. And
And the volunteer base there is going okay, or?
I haven't heard anything on the volunteer base, but I'll certainly ask how their numbers are and get some follow up on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Here, I was at the Spanish River at Harley Fields Saturday, which is a big day for the Soccer Association with their tournament. And, you know, I see that I take a great deal of pride in what we offer there in terms of the playing facility, the rectangular fields, the playground. But it's just nice seeing all ages of kids that are participating. The Soccer Association of Boca Raton not only has a recreational program, but as you know, a competitive program, an adult program, and a program for those with physically and challenged needs to recreate through Top Soccer. We did just a quick analysis of the membership, and there's about 3,200 participants in the program. So that's grown significantly since I started coaching the program, where boys and girls at the lower level played on the same team. If you don't think that was a nightmare, the girls were more social than they were interested in playing soccer. Fortunately, as the program grew, we were able to separate that. And taking it to one more level, I happened to be in DeLand for the state soccer tournament, both on Thursday and Sunday, when the Boca High boys and girls soccer team, which consists of a lot of our travel players on that, made the Final Four. The girls won their semifinal game. The boys were tied after regulation. They had 2 10-minute overtimes in which they had lost 2 kids due to 2 double yellows, which means a blue card, Aaron, if you know what that means, that you're DQ'd, but you're not prohibited from playing in the next game. So the boys played down 2 field players for 30 minutes and were still able to keep the game tied. And they go to penalty kicks. And so for those of us who are aficionados, I hate penalty kicks because it's so unfair to the goalkeeper to play, 90 minutes and end up in kicks from the mark. After 5 kicks, we were still tied, so we had to go to the next 5. And we win by one kick when they missed before we did. So the boys won state title. The girls unfortunately lost their match 2-1. But for someone who's watched our programs grow in town, a large part of the success of that has been what the district has made available to the community for its recreational needs. And it just makes me feel good to see the results of this after all these years as to how far our programs come, not only with this, but lacrosse. We met the lacrosse needs of that community, and we're doing the same thing with the pickleball community. So as a commissioner who's served this community in this capacity for many years, like you guys have, you just feel good. And our report should be easy to complete on our plans and objectives, because we do stay on top of those things, thanks to the staff. I'm just proud of what our community has been able to, our Beach and Park District community has been made available to the greater Boca Raton needs, not only in these areas, but, you know, we have the YMCA doing, using the Rutherford Center. So that's being put to use. So I think that we're doing a lot of good things for the community, have done a lot of good things, and Chuck's documenting those periodically. So, but it was really good representing a district at the tournament in DeLand. Although, you know, it's not for the weak of heart to go to these tournaments because the teams are very equally matched. But it was an awful fun place to be afterwards. And as I met the bus back at the boys' bus back at the school on Sunday, the coach, the first thing he said to me is, "The ride's a lot shorter when you win." So, but that's all I have. Thank you for letting me expound on the success of the school.
Congrats to the Boca High men's and women's team. That's great. Susie?
That Commissioner Rollins needs to talk about who the goalie was.
Well, you know, we have two goalies on our team, and the starting goalie finished the match on Saturday. My grandson was disappointed he didn't play Sunday, but he is such a trooper when it comes to being a team player. Didn't bother him a bit when he hung that gold medal around his neck and stood in front of that state championship sign. He was a winner, and so was I. So I just think that you know, and we have other programs that do just as well, and you know, but having a child play in a program like Boca High has, a lot of their success, and Spanish River is no exception, Olympic Heights, all these schools benefit from the program that we offer, whether it's a recreation program or the competitive program. And it's just, I don't know that any community has what we have to offer with our facilities and the opportunities that our kids have to play at another level. So thank you, Sue.
I too was out in the great DeHornley Park, and it was wonderful. I got there a few minutes after 9, and I had to park almost all the way to Spanish River. And so the park ranger who was directing parking had some suggestions that I will share with you. Maybe, you know, actually lining those outfields so that they can have more organized parking out there, and more signage for no parking or not going into certain areas because people were trying to move the signs and go around the signs and get to the actual drop-off area. So but we did have a very successful tournament, and thanks to Sabre, Top Soccer benefited, and we ran out of hot dogs, 2,000 hot dogs, and everybody was just having a great time. Steve, to clarify some things about my passion for getting golf on at North Park. If you have the opportunity, if all of you have the opportunity to go up to the park in West Palm Beach just to see what it's about, this is a municipal golf facility, but it's a park. It's for the kids, it's for the adults, it's for people who don't even play golf. They have food and beverage, they have movie night,
Dogs.
and this was all built by a foundation. It was not a dime of municipal funds. There's also Justin Martin, who's up at the park, was also instrumental in getting Bobby Jones up in Atlanta up and running. He, not so much from the fundraising part of it, but the functionality. And he's down at the park helping out. Bobby Jones was built strictly on a foundation funds. So there are ways to do it. And I think that there are people and organizations in our area that would jump at the chance to have their name on a pro shop or on a bench or any, on some of the tee boxes. And we could get it done. But we have to get started. So thank you.
Nothing, I just want everybody, I hope you've been reading all the comments that have been coming through on the Butters group. Prices that came through. I'm not sure if they thought about it much before they presented it. But we'll see what they come back with, I think. But I just hope that we all remember that this is supposed to be a place for the public and not 1% of the public or 2% of the public. So yes, they have to make a profit, but there were other groups that were making a profit that would be open to the public. So, just look back at the proposals again too, and see what they said when they presented, and what they didn't say, and then what we recently got back. So just to, keep them honest on what they promised us from the beginning, I think is important. So that's all I have on that. And that's it. So
Adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. We are adjourned.